Hey everybody, we're here at the Partsbase PBEXPO. Joining me today from Ambry Hill Technologies, I have Neil and Eric. How are you guys doing?
Very well, thanks.
Good to be here.
Awesome.
Thank you.
I'm doing pretty good. Having a good show and happy to be here and lots of cool stuff happening. So
Absolutely, yeah.
Maybe you could start with just like a quick intro to yourselves, and I'd like to hear more about Ambry Hill, a little bit about the company, and maybe we could dive into the products from there.
Yeah, sure. So my name's Neil Prodger. I'm the European Director of Sales. I've been working in aviation and technology for around about 20 years and been with Ambry Hill for about a year and a half.
Very cool. Eric?
Yeah, so I started with Ambry Hill in 2018. And I do trade show coordinating, the marketing, messaging, communications.
Okay.
And a little bit of everything in between. I mean, I started out as sales support, so doing demos and some of the sales activities and things like that, and then kind of evolved to working alongside the sales team we have now.
Very cool.
As we've grown. Yeah.
Very cool. And how long has Ambry Hill been around for?
So development started around 2016.
Okay.
And then we launched as a product in mid-2018.
Okay, very cool. And so I know that the first product that you brought out was really like an RFP and quoting product. Tell me a little bit about that. And that's VistaQuote, is that correct?
Yeah, that's right. So VistaQuote was our first product that we had at market. It was really designed to fill a kind of age-old problem in aviation, is like managing a high volume of RFQs. Obviously here at Partsbase, the listing services are, used by thousands of aviation companies, and you get high volume of the RFQs, and that's what they're designed to do, is build that traffic. But
sure.
Sitting on the other side of the fence, if you're in the sales department and things like that, then you're receiving all this volume of RFQs, and it's very difficult to manage. And that's what we did with VistaQuote. So we turned those RFQs and those kind of slightly chaotic Outlook inboxes, those sales inboxes, we digitized them and we turned them into the modern world. So an RFQ arrives instantly. It knows who the company is, the part, the condition, the quantity, and then you can quote instantly. But with VistaQuote, the unique thing about that product was that we connect to your existing ERP software.
Okay.
So our new product, which is VistaSuite, is a full-blown ERP.
Okay, very cool. And so what was the thought process in going out and developing a full-blown ERP? I know that there's a bunch of kind of industry non-specific ERPs out there, and I know that there are some aviation-specific ERPs. Kind of what were you guys setting out to do with developing this product?
Okay, great question. So several things, really. I think, firstly, Ambry Hill is a team of aviation experts.
Okay.
And we've been in technology and around ERPs and around aviation companies for about 20 years.
Yeah.
And we've seen many problems that companies face. So we've tried to solve a lot of those kind of problems, like the VistaQuote issue, managing your RFQs. Well, that technology is also built into our VistaSuite ERP.
Okay.
So it's, so we're solving that problem. But one of the other reasons we started developing the ERP, because people liked our VistaQuote product and they're saying, well, how can I turn that into a sales order? Or can I do an invoice? Or can I create the purchase order? Well, we're getting asked that question. We're like, well, no, that's not really what VistaQuote does.
Sure.
So the ERP's been built and it's at market. We've been at market since last year. We're getting really positive feedback with it.
Something our founder, Paul Stewart, talks about a lot is the issue of problems that have existed in systems that are out there for so long.
Right.
That some of the older companies and even newer ones that are out there aren't solving some of those age-old problems when it comes to process improvement. So they'll get the job done, moving the transaction through the pipeline from start to finish, but some of the elements are kind of clunky, like say printing, for example.
Right.
If you want to print a document for a sales order that maybe was with the quote that went out or some other paper trail, you got to go back into that record, and you kind of have to hunt and dig and go through these different menus. Or if you want to check a status to the project, you have to go into that module and hunt and dig. And so one of the key pipeline issues that we fixed was merging that together. So if you're in a sales order, you can see related documents right there in front of you. Or if you're in a work order, you can see without digging and hunting through menus what the status is on some of those
Right.
some of those tasks. And
Right.
so it's not just recreating and repackaging and thinking we're doing it a better way. We are
Right.
really, really rethinking how to do the process better so
Sure.
that you're not hunting and digging and clicking and trying to find things.
Right.
And
How about from like a paperwork standpoint? I know that, traditionally aircraft maintenance and maintenance on actual components is very paper heavy, right? You're printing manuals and then printing work cards. You're signing everything off by hand. How are you guys addressing that with your products?
Yeah, and absolutely. I think aviation, by its own admission, has been quite paper heavy,
Yeah.
paper reliant. But we're moving away from that. So the industry's definitely, got the appetite to be more streamlined in that. And absolutely, I mean, because we're a modern SaaS-based ERP product, built we're using web browsers designed to be for mobile apps.
Right.
You can pick up you can have a desktop and have run it on a web browser on your desktop, but you can also pick up a tablet. And so even our work order has been very deliberately designed to do that. You pick it up and you can have like a kind of desktop view.
Right.
One little touch and it goes into a kind of
Mobile.
expanded kind of tablet view.
Okay.
And then there's mobile apps on top of that as well.
Cool.
To give each operator kind of the easiest kind of solution for what they're trying to tackle in their day-to-day
Sure.
work life.
Sure. Is there a particular type of customer that's ideal for you guys in implementing your software?
We
I know right away we
well,
want to say everyone.
everyone.
Yeah. I mean,
but
at first we were like suppliers, aviation aftermarket suppliers, but then we were like, well, we've got the work order, repair order piece built out too. So I think the actual ideal be those companies that are doing both.
Mm-hmm.
They've got multiple facilities, they're a supplier, and they've got an MRO arm.
Gotcha.
Because we can pull in external data too. Over the last couple of years, through the pandemic, some companies were buying other smaller companies and growing their own business,
Right.
In ways that we maybe weren't seeing a couple years prior. And so even as they bring in these, they get more diverse and more scattered, and now you've got databases all over the place. You can
Right.
plug those into VistaSuite and see that and work with that data so it's not so scattered.
Sure.
And things like that.
So you've taken a strategy to really be an integrator as well, knowing that you're not going to house or maybe have the functionality needed to cover every function within a business.
Exactly, and I don't think that any software
Right.
can do that.
Right.
And,
Sure.
and whereas I think some time ago companies tried to do that, what it meant is they did quite a lot of things okay, but then quite a lot of things badly as well.
Right.
And that became a frustration for the users. So, like the modern world, when we're kind of sat at home and we have all of our different subscriptions, like for our entertainment packages and things like that, our product, we're focusing on our core ERP functionality. So that's all the MRO, the logistics, the part sales, the kind of purchasing, all of that kind of thing. But then we can integrate with other products. People want to... maybe they're using an existing CRM and they don't want to change from that. Well, that's fine. That CRMs are web-based. We're web-based. We can make those two
Right.
Connect and talk to each other very easily.
Sure.
And I think that's again, asking the question about what kind of aviation companies do you want to talk to? Well, it can be anybody, because I think, and particularly those companies that are ready for a change.
Right.
And I think that's very much the kind of market. Technology runs in cycles. We have ups, and then things, it kind of stabilize or level out for a while, and then we come into a kind of another almost like revolution, and that's where we're at now. And wanting easier to use web-based products, that's one of the kind of big appetite changes we're seeing at the moment.
Yeah, for sure. And what's the process like? I'm sure as you're going out to customers, they're maybe on a couple different platforms, or maybe they're on a legacy platform. I'm sure one of the big obstacles is around actually making that transition and that migration.
Yeah,
how do you deal with that? What's that like?
No, it is, and that's one of the things we do as a software company. We're proud of our product, we're proud of the functionality it has, but we also take that step back and say, what problems, what barriers do we have in sales?
Right.
What barriers do we have for a company to adopt new technology? One of those big things is training.
Okay.
Legacy software that's been around for a long time tends to be very cumbersome.
Right.
Requires a lot of setup. Typically needs an IT person and more than one super user just to manage it.
Right.
So we're removing that barrier because it's a SaaS-based product, so a web browser, internet connection, away you go. Other things like data. Eric was mentioning earlier about with how we can make connections to external data. One of the big kind of overheads and kind of time-consuming and fears that a company have is bringing legacy data over to a new system.
Yeah.
Sure.
And absolutely, we offer a traditional data conversion. So you take your data out of one system, you load it up, and you look at it. But we do also offer an alternative for this external data. Some companies will look at data and say, right, I want to take everything, last 15 years data, and put it in VistaSuite. Fine, we'll do that. That's the process. We know that's what you want.
Yeah.
We'll go through that. Other companies will look at it and say, well, I might only want to take the last 3 years worth of data. But occasionally I might want to look at that older data. Well, with the external connections that we have from our VistaSuite product, we could still reach back into that legacy database, for example, and pull that historical data out. So you're not actually populating it in your kind of table structure in the database, but we're still connecting to it. And that connection as well can go a lot of different ways. If we talk about companies potentially doing joint ventures, maybe we're sharing inventory. Well, how do we keep that inventory kind of up to date? Well, you could connect your VistaSuites together, or you can even point at an Excel spreadsheet and pull data in that way.
Yeah, and even just as important as where we put that data in the system, do you have to dig through a menu and find external data?
Right.
And we integrate it on the screen. So if you click on a part number, you have external data for that part number. And even for multiple locations, if there are multiple locations or databases for that transaction level, part number level, inventory level.
Yeah.
It's where it should be. So you don't have to, you don't have to hunt and dig and click and figure out where this is. Because we want to make it so that, the veterans in the industry that are typically a little more hesitant to step into a new platform can get it. Mm-hmm. And when you bring on some new talent that might be a little younger and I guess more excited about newer technology, they can
jump right in.
They jump right in.
Yeah. Very cool. How about from like a service standpoint? I mean, it's definitely, regardless of how easy it is to use a platform, it's a complex platform, right? Because you're handling so many different aspects of the business. So what do you offer in regards to like technical support and customer service?
Yeah. So one of the big things we started off with was live chat. So 24 hours a day. So if you're anywhere in the world using our service, there's a live chat in the application itself.
Cool.
Even in the mobile application, you can get a hold of somebody right away. And if you don't, it leaves us a message and we jump on it. We've got a team, Neil, he's in the UK. I'm in Central Time Zone. We've got people in California.
Okay.
So the response time is super fast. And we've had even turnaround times on something that somebody says, hey, we have a custom report that we want to see something a little bit different on. Even things like that, we receive that message, we get it done, I would say, and sometimes in a few hours, and roll that out and say, hey, this is live. And that's the beauty of a SaaS product, right? The online services, we can roll out an update like that, just instant. And you don't have to pay for the upgrade or
wait for the Q4 release
that's one of the biggest customer service points, is that we're not going to nickel and dime every time you want a user-defined field, for example. Those are unlimited in our system. If you want a report, you could build the report on your own through the dashboard. We have report services that we can, set up, for you as well. But the response and the turnaround time for us is the biggest thing, and the follow-up, right? So you don't just make the sale, get the subscription, but what's the follow-up like to make sure that they're satisfied, that they're engaged, because it's got to stick to be successful for them and to enjoy it. And we want them to do well, right? We want them to succeed because their success is our success. You see, how that goes.
For sure. No, very cool. Anything else that you guys want to hit on while we're talking, whether it's, maybe recent releases or anything you have going on in 2022?
So much.
This is, and I won't tug your arm.
I mean, we've like I say, for a product that's kind of new on the market, we are new on the market.
Yeah.
We recognize that, but we're not new to this industry.
Right.
And we're not new to these problems. We've supported hundreds of aviation companies, and we've listened, and we're still listening. So we've got a heck of a lot of technology and product out there already, and we've only just started.
Yeah, I guess I'll let the audience on one lesser known feature. Right?
Okay.
There is something in the works for down the road, right? But here's something different. This is probably lesser known. Is I'm sure many users have heard of like workflow automation platforms like Zapier,
right?
For
Yes.
example, I know Microsoft has a Microsoft Flow, and there's different variations of those. Well, Zapier, for example, is a web application that allows you to plug in or match up two apps together. So if you receive a message in Slack, it'll also send an email or a text or vice versa. It's kind of this information exchange. We've plugged VistaSuite into that.
Okay.
So when it comes to integrating QuickBooks, Xero accounting, Pipedrive, Salesforce, Slack, if you receive a new quote, it'll ping Slack.
Awesome. That's
or
really
send you a
cool.
text or something like that.
Yeah.
And so, the Zapier platform has 3,000 plus applications, and it's just a matter of us building out that pipeline and establishing, what the function is through Zapier, and you can zap all different applications.
Yeah, we were talking to you before this about some of the advances in technology over the last few years are really incredible, in that in the past, if you went 5 years ago, even 3 years ago, if you were talking about, integrating two products, it was
a huge
specific coding on typically both ends, right?
Yeah.
And so that really restricted the ability for two platforms to talk. And so I think we're in a really interesting place in that you can really create best of breed products without worrying too much about, developing into kind of this gray space that may not be your expertise, right? There's plenty of big companies out there that do CRM. As an aviation company, do you want to build a CRM, right?
Yeah.
And in some cases, there might be features and functions that make sense to get into. But what's really cool now with products like that is like you could just plug these in, and a lot of times there's no coding involved either.
And it takes down the barrier to entry too.
Yeah.
When somebody says, "Oh, I'm so ingrained in QuickBooks," or "I'm so ingrained in Salesforce,"
right?
It's like, well, great. Let's set up some zaps, and as an RFQ comes in, maybe you get a text, or you have a sales order go through, or a purchase go through. Hey, it hits QuickBooks, and it's right there.
Sure.
So,
very cool. Well, it was great talking with you guys. I hope you
Likewise.
have a successful show here at PBEXPO. Where can people find you if they want to learn more?
Yeah, 459. Booth 459, and then ambryhill.com, ambryhill.com.
Okay.
Yeah, come and say hi.
Awesome. Well, it was good chatting, and look forward to talking again.
Thanks,
Greg.
Thank you.